Call the Pownal Select Board regular meeting Thursday, November 14th, 2013 at 7 p.m. Agenda approval of minutes of 11/5/13 and 11/7/13. Warrants, mail, transfer station supervisor monthly meeting. Under new business, Alan Watson on CPA Bonadino Group, Town Financial Audit. Presentation, old business, we had scheduled revisit the personnel policy and personnel. Before we accept this, the revisit the personnel will have to be tabled further until next week till we have a full board, if that's acceptance with this board present. We have to make some amendments on the policy, and I'd like to have a full board present if everybody's in approval with that.
Cool. I'd like to add, I want to talk a little bit on the town website and an insurance issue. Well, not really an issue, but insurance and town website.
Okay, with that added, motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of minutes 11/5. That was a special meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 11/7, our regular select board meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Warrants. Okay, general fund accounts payable 11/15/13 in the amount of $3,415,268.58. I'm sure you're all curious on those figures.
My pay finally came in.
You must have got yours.
Good job.
Okay, we'll just hit the biggies here. One is Mount Anthony education tax, which is $1,395,145. Pownal Elementary School is another one at $1,521,737.85. And Town of Pownal Road Department taxes, road tax due, $478,577.70. And everything else looks pretty small compared to them. So those are your large items.
Motion.
No.
Oh.
We have one more to
Oh,
go.
we got one more?
Then you can do that.
That's right.
Hold the thought.
We get spent enough?
This one's easy. It's also upside down. Payroll, 11/10/13 to 11/15/13, in the amount of $7,024.80.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our mail. Pownal Transfer Station will be closed Wednesday, November 27th. If I remember, I'll try to remind everybody again at the end of the meeting. 27th. Okay. Last week we talked about a business card for our road crew in Casey's name. And we need to take action on this, to motion to approve, not to sign.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a contract for our one of our plowers. Furnish and maintain the same Town of Pownal for $40 an hour to plow town roads. Everybody has looked at this. It's been gone over. What is your feelings? Should we sign this?
Make a motion to sign it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I guess I'll get the scribble on it. Okay, Bennington County Safety Council. I'd like to take the opportunity to invite you and/or a member of your staff to attend the upcoming Bennington County Safety Council meeting. The Vermont Health and Safety Council recognizes the Bennington chapter as a good standing member. We discuss current OSHA industry and construction standards as they work to our needs. It goes on, if you should decide to become a member, the membership fee is $100. It entitles you and your company to attend local training session as well as receive online training. For example, there's aware of a new global harmonization, boy, I didn't mess that one up, GHS law that goes into effect December 2013. So that is out there if anybody's interested. I just sketched through that. I didn't read the whole thing, but if anybody on the board is interested. Okay. Okay, we have a letter from our auditors. It says we've noticed the posting on the bulletin board that sewer commissioners meeting have been canceled to the end of the year. Makes us question whether the board will approve a new budget for the wastewater treatment facility to publish in the town report. We have specified requests on this material for the town report to be given by December 31st, 2013, including wastewater budget from the chief operator. We once again have to publish, will we once again have to publish town report without the current budget from the wastewater treatment facility? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Don't we budget that annually and that runs at a different time frame? And that's why it won't be, this does not affect these dates. Correct?
The budget runs from July through June,
Right.
but Darcy chooses not to give you a budget until the end of March.
Right, and we don't set that up in that, and we haven't, to my knowledge, before. That
So
budget
it-
runs differently
so
than
that means
ours.
that you can't publish it in the town report. Why would you not want to publish that in the town report?
I'm assuming if it's not done, that's why. Don't know, I didn't originally set that up, but that's the way it's been done, and I'm assuming that's the way we do it.
Well,
If I'm not
wouldn't the
mistaken.
select board consider changing that so that the current budget could be published in the town report?
It's been brought up an issue before on the floor of the floor meeting, why it's not there.
Well, I'm not really sure. So, it can be brought up again before a full board and
What
see
you
if
got
they.
there? Did you see them notes?
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Thank you. Okay, auditors attended a seminar last month and asked that question. Is this correct? Okay. Do you remember the answer?
No, I don't, to be honest with you, Betty.
Okay. They were told that the voters do not vote on the wastewater O&M because it is supported by the users. I don't know, did I
don't
read something
believe
funny
that's
there?
true, but,
No, I don't.
you know, I just don't believe that's true.
Well, obviously if it's
You
voted
got it
by the-
from-
Whether you vote on it or not, shouldn't it be in the town report? It's town business, it's a town function, it's,
And the users, I think, are entitled to know going forward what the budget is.
No. I
well,
would,
that was an observation on our part anyway.
yep.
You know, and it's your decision whether you
Right.
choose, if you choose not to put it in the town report, that's entirely up to the Board of Selectmen.
Well, I think the people in the town should know what it is. It's a budget, just like all the rest of the budgets. And whether the users pay the O&M, there's other people that are paying on the $2 million bond all the time for 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, but
That's in your
that
car.
bond is separate though. That's.
Yes, I know it is, but it's still our facility for the whole town.
Right, but it
was
has
pretty much-
nothing to do with the budget of running the station itself. So, unless there needed to be a separate budget set up for that.
Just seems like if it's practical, but again, it's your decision like that.
We will discuss that with full board one more time, see what their thoughts are. Another letter from auditors. Hurry mowing and trimming of grass, town listed work sites. We have noticed in our weekly reviews, AP warrants that the mowing and trimming of town grass continued through October, while most, if not all, of other lawn maintenance firms have stopped mowing with their clients the first week of October. We are wondering why we are paying for this service. Okay. Okay, have you read the contract with our mowing
No,
people? I will read it, and if you would like a copy of it, we will fulfill you with one. The standards are, all fields and lawns will be maintained in a neat and presentable appearance at all times, effective immediately through November 15th, 2013. They have a height minimum and maintainable. And if I'm not mistaken, we probably have received our last mowing.
Only thing I would ask you to do then, if that answers the question, but to, when you renew that, to look at it, to shorten it up, it seems like grass, and my grass stops growing around October. It's pick up debris and different things at that time.
You haven't mowed since October?
I have leaves,
You've mowed the
leaves, just leaves.
Well, I mowed mine in there. I know some lawns haven't. I was at a funeral where, in North Pownal, where the grass was pretty high.
Right. You know, I mean.
This was I think, a different growing year.
Right.
And I think we have to maintain these properties to look adequate.
No question about it. But the cemeteries, if you visited some of them, are suffering.
Well,
Not being adequately mowed. It looks like it's almost, it could be, you know, curtailed. And I would ask you to look at that as a board, and when you make up your new contract, that you would possibly shorten it up. It seems like it's just a waste of money.
I would, only thing I would do, and that would be up to the board to do, is to use the discretion of the lawn outfit that does this. In effect, if it's a dry season, not to mow, which we do have in there. This year, we had a pretty good growing season, I think into late October with no problem, which I don't have a crystal ball, so I certainly couldn't tell when I was gonna put the mower up. And I don't think we should tell them a date to put it up, and then have the cemeteries or something else get looking like the devil, and have a situation where we need to use them, facilitate or bury somebody up there and have it look that way.
Right.
So, with that, maybe we can put discretionary measures in there for somebody to use their own judgment.
I would hope that the town would make the decision, not the vendor.
Well, I don't think that any one of us is gonna run from cemetery to cemetery and check it any more than we do on our road crew, seeing if they plowed roads, following them around. If we have somebody that's not adequately doing their job, then we will find somebody to replace them the next time around.
Okay.
Would be my feeling.
Yeah, and I also know there's contractors still out there mowing to replace it. It's a hard one to go by, you know, we might get snow first of November.
Might get snow in October and then have to mow right afterwards too.
Mm-hmm.
Seen that. Like I said, it's different. We don't call the weather. Okay. That is our mail. Transfer station. Monthly board meeting.
Remember all there.
On that new base, we got the pallets, gaylords, we got about 6 gaylords full of material, so that seems to be going well. There is some lawsuits going back and forth in the state over who got the contract and whatnot, but I don't think that's gonna affect us. So that seems to be going well. Tuesday, I met with the auditors, give them, updated information on the transfer station for the town report. And we've been having an issue with the tire on the backhoe, been going down, and Wednesday morning it was flat enough so they had to come over and blow it up so we could get it over there. And we took the tire off, took it down to Bennington Tire, and since it's snow season and they're doing a lot of snow tires, they did get it done for me, but it was at the end of the day, so I picked it up at the end of the day, and then this morning took it over and we put it on the backhoe, so hopefully it'll be ready to go in the morning. Other than that,
Okay, I have a question.
Yep.
Conference about a plow truck.
uh-huh.
We have a green Ford truck that was going to be put over in your yard.
Yes.
I'd like to hear the discussion on that.
Well, that truck, as you know, is in not very good condition, has a severe exhaust leak, and from a safety standpoint, number one, I don't think it's appropriate for the town to put themselves in that position, to ask an employee to run that vehicle in the condition that it's in. I mean, we've tried to follow OSHA laws and OSHA laws all the time, and safety procedures, and there's no financial gain that I know of by doing that.
Tim, I'm a little bit at a loss there. I know the truck and I know it's getting real rough around the edges.
Mhm.
There's no question. The exhaust manifolds leak on it, which is typical Ford. They're growly. But for a yard vehicle, not to maintain 100%, but during the day, if you get a storm that comes blasting through and the guys are out, I'm curious on the harm of having a truck there you could open a path down through with.
It's just, they go by there all the time and they can maintain it. They have the equipment to maintain it. Steve, it's something that I wouldn't ask an employee to run that vehicle with exhaust leak. You know, you got standards for chemicals and everything else, and acceptable standards for CO2, I think are pretty low if they're allowed at all.
Well, I'm not happy with that response, so I gotta look at the truck myself.
Well, you're
Because
putting the
I'm-
town in a bad position. You really are.
Well, that's the part I'm not understanding. That's why I need to look at this
Well-
myself.
I'd like to speak on that also, because to me, I think there's no benefit for the town. The road crew is right next door. They go by there in the morning, they go back and forth to get sand. There's always a truck close by. Now, and also, if we were so desperate and everything else, if we needed to have something, a couple of guys at the transfer station have their own truck. You know, if we really had to have somebody open it up, usually it isn't plowing they need. They need sanding for ice. And to me, I don't see any gain in that, and how are you going to fuel it up? The thing shouldn't be on the highway. So what are you going to do, bring gas cans over? I mean, I don't see any benefit there. Sell the thing, get rid of it, and we'll move on. That's a town road, and it only takes a minute to fly through there if you got snow to plow it. We got small trucks the town has. They got a 1-ton truck, and they got a 3/4-ton truck with plows on. And they do have a sander on the 1-ton, so they could hit it with sand if they wanted to. And they go by there constantly. It's different if they weren't going back and forth. If it was the other end of town, I can understand it. Or if that was a private, like if that was me and wanted that truck, that's fine. If I want to drive around with the doors open, the windows open, and plow my driveway, it's no big deal. But these are employees and we're responsible for them. So, and I don't see any financial gain. I don't see any gain whatsoever there.
I think the outcome of that moving over to the transfer station was brought on the issue of last winter about the plowing. I think that's where it always is.
There's unfortunately there's been an issue even before I was there. Casey doesn't seem to like to take on that responsibility. And they've tried that with an old truck before. You're just placing the town in a very bad position.
The one that actually really suggested that is absent tonight. I'm not really for it, and I'm not really against
Well,
it.
let me ask you this. Would your employer put you in a truck with severe exhaust leak and expect you to drive that? You know, you're not talking, you know, we've got an emergency, or we've got this, or we've got that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I know what you're saying, but like I said, I'm not really for it, and I'm not really against it. I know last year there was an issue. We brought everybody in.
If anything happened, the town would be in very bad position. Because that would be considered an unsafe condition. And then if
If
you
it's-
required the employee to run that, that's an unsafe.
I'm gonna put it this way: if the truck is not roadworthy, it should not be there.
I agree.
If it's just a manifold leak, that's no serious.
You might want to check a little deeper into the truck.
Because Ford is known for the manifolds. I mean, if it's just the manifold leak, that ain't gonna bother nobody.
And this is nothing personal with me or anything. It just, I've looked at it and like I say, the safety part of it is the worst part, but there's no financial gain there. I mean, who's gonna maintain this truck? You know, we didn't budget for it in the transfer station budget to maintain, you know, the most important piece of equipment we got is the backhoe. That's to help control costs.
So I'd like to table that action until a couple of us can actually look at the truck. If it's deemed unsafe, it's deemed unsafe. It should be sold.
See, my only thought was, and I go along with that, I think a couple people should look at it. The only thing I was thinking is not busting anybody's butt on it, it's just the handiness of, it's gotta be handier than a backhoe to plow with.
It is.
If there was an issue.
I won't deny that.
If you got a windstorm and snow and the guys are out plowing somewhere else and you get a drift across there and you're waiting for them to come back, it could interfere with your operation. May not happen a couple times more than a year. But if it did and there's a truck there, it's a yard truck. It's not the Queen Mary. You're not gonna go to Mount Snow with it or pick up groceries and the kids from school. You're gonna go knock the drift out of the way and park the damn thing. I was just thinking of the handiness of you guys being not waiting. There's 3 people over there. Somebody could jump in it, move a drift out of the way and park it.
Because the only other issue that I had one time was on a Saturday, when he didn't have guys out and I had to hand sand. But I've got no problem, especially you got that 1 ton, I guess it's got a sander that came with it. I got no problem getting familiar with that, so like on a Saturday or something, if they're not out of doing that, you know what I'm saying? That would be a cost savings because you wouldn't have to call them out just to do the transfer station. I got no problem doing that.
I'd just like to see that run comfortable for you guys and for them. I don't want this bickering amongst our 2 divisions over there on something as stupid as,
I know.
geez, we got a piece of equipment, nobody wants to use it, or
Yeah.
we got a road that nobody wants to plow. It just seems nothing that we should be dealing with.
No, you shouldn't.
So,
I won't disagree with
that's
you
where
there.
I'm standing on
I
that.
know. It's, I really think you should look at the safety aspect of this.
Okay. I will get over there, like, Ronnie, get a moment, kick the tires and see what you think. Good, enough truck talk.
Okay. Other than being closed the day before Thanksgiving, that's about it, I guess.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, Ed.
All right.
Yeah, fellas.
Okay. Bonadino Group, Mr. Walthard, you are up.
I am up already.
You lucky devil.
Lucky devil indeed. There are draft reports.
This is the same one that I have here. I think we have some.
Do you have them already?
I do believe so.
We might have changed it slightly. I'll just pass out another one so we're on the same page.
There you go, sir. Thank you.
I have one too, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Just to introduce myself, my name is Alan Walther. I'm a partner with the Bonadillo Group. We are the town of Pownal's external auditors. I just distributed to the board members 3 separate reports, a required communications letter, the financial statements and required reports, and then an internal control matters report. Our role as your external auditors is really threefold. We audit the financial statements, give our opinion on the financial statements. We consider the town's internal controls and give a report on the internal controls, and we consider the town's compliance with laws and regulations and give a report on compliance with laws and regulations. It's important to remember that the reports on internal controls and the reports on compliance, we do not give opinions, we just simply give a report on any findings that we may have had. So having said that, the first report that I'd like to go through is the required communication letter. As that letter title indicates, this is required communications. Anytime we perform an audit, we're required to communicate this information to you. And the important things for the board to know, on the first page under qualitative aspects of accounting practices, the town adopted GASB Statement 63. The GASB is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. That is the rule-setting body that sets the accounting standards that the town follows. So the town adopted GASB 63. And the primary impact on the financial statements was simply a terminology change to change net assets to net position, and we'll see that when we take a look at the financial statements. On page 2, significant accounting estimates. The financial statements are numbers. You think of numbers as being exact. That's not entirely true. There are some significant estimates, the most significant of which are the depreciable lives of property and equipment and estimate of compensated absences. Our role with regard to the estimates is to evaluate the factors and assumptions used in developing them and to determine that they are reasonable in relation to the financial statements, and we did that, and we believe that the estimates are reasonable. Difficulties encountered in performing the audit. If we had any significant difficulties, we would have to report them to the board here, and we're pleased to report that we did not. And then finally, towards the bottom of the page, disagreements with management. The same type thing. If we had any disagreements with management with regard to the application of accounting principles, with regard to adjusting entries or access to records or anything like that, we would have to report that to the board, and we're pleased to report that there were no disagreements. The financial statements, it's a large bound document. If you take a look at the table of contents The financial statements and auditors reports are 39 pages, so I'm not going to go through the entire report in any great detail. However, I would like to just point out what is included in the report and then hit on what I think are the important areas that the board should be aware of. So if you look at the table of contents, the report is broken into 5 sections. The independent auditors report on pages 1 and 2, management's discussion and analysis on pages 3 through 14, the financial statements and notes to the financial statements on pages 15 through 35, required supplementary information on page 36, and then other required report on page 37 and 38, and schedule findings on page 39. It's important to remember that of this 39-page document, the only pages that are the Bonagito groups, pages 1 and 2, 37, 38, and 39. Okay, so the auditors' reports are ours and the findings are ours. The financial statements are the town's. Okay, even though we assist in the preparation of this document, they're your financial statements. Our role is to audit them and give our opinion on them. Okay? You only have a limited amount of time to spend with this document. Do read at least the management's discussion and analysis on pages 3 through 14. Those 12 pages give a good overview of the town's operations for the year and future factors and results versus the budget, and et cetera, et cetera. So having said all that, page 1 and 2 is the independent auditors report. All the faces are familiar, so I think you guys have seen the auditors reports in the past. The format of the report changed a little bit this year. We had, as auditors, we had an auditing standard that we had to implement. It just changed the way that the report is presented. The facts and circumstances are still the same, and I think the important information for the board to know is on page 2. At the very top, under the opinion heading, which I'll paraphrase, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly the financial position of the town of Pownal as of June 30th, 2013. That is what we as auditors call an unmodified opinion, and that is the highest level of assurance we can give on your financial statements. Pages 3 through 14, as I said, is the management's discussion and analysis. I'm going to skip over that in its entirety, but again, as I said, if you only read a certain portion of this document, do read the management's discussion and analysis. Page 15, excuse me. Page 15 is the statement of net position for the town. This is the big change from the prior year. Last year was called the statement of net assets. It's literally just as simple as that, that the net assets terminology has changed to net position. What the statement of net position represents is the total financial position of the town. Okay, so that is all of the funds combined, plus your capital assets, plus your long-term debt. Okay, so the highlights here: total assets $24,460,000. Total liabilities $2,954,000, leaving net position assets minus liabilities brings you to net position of $21,505,000. Of your $21,505,000 net position, $19,972,000 is invested in capital assets, $978,000 is restricted, and $554,000 is unrestricted. It's important also to note that the statement of net position is presented using the full accrual method of accounting, which differs from the method of accounting that used at the fund level. Okay, so this is not to be used for budgetary basis or tax basis. Okay. Page 17 is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. What the balance sheet represents is a snapshot of the town's financial position as of June 30th, 2013. You can see across the top of the page the various funds the town has: the general fund, road fund, capital projects fund, special aid, and the wastewater O&M fund. The highlights here: the general fund, total assets, $852,000, total liabilities, $183,000, leaving fund balance of $669,000. Of that $669,000 fund balance, $474,000 was restricted. $109,618 was appropriated for the subsequent year's tax levy. That was the amount that was used to balance the 2014 budget, and $84,838 was unassigned. Okay. The road fund, total assets $769, total liabilities $105, total fund balance $664,000. $503,000 of the road fund is restricted. $67,793 was appropriated for the 2004 taxes, and $92,519 is unappropriated. The only other comment that I want to make on the balance sheet is you will notice that the capital projects fund has a deficit of $951,000. However, there is also a line of credit of $977,000. As that line of credit is replaced with permanent financing or grant financing, that's the way that the capital projects fund deficit will be eliminated. Okay. Page 18 is the statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. I think let's skip over this and flip all the way to page 36. We'll look at the results versus the budget. There is a typo here. That's why these are drafts that I picked up when the math is just wrong in the variance column, which we'll fix when we issue this as finals. The highlights here in the general fund: total revenue budgeted $938,000, actual revenue was $873,000, so there was an unfavorable variance of $64,000 in the general fund revenue. The total expenditures for the general fund budgeted $1,052,000. Actual was $952,000. So you had a favorable budgetary variance in your expenditures of $100,000. So the net results for the year was that the town had budgeted to use $114,000 of its general fund balance. You actually used $78,000, so you had a net favorable variance. That 165 is wrong. It should be it's a favorable variance of 35,439. The math is just backwards, so we'll correct that in the final.
I have a question on that. Can you take a question now, or would you just prefer not to until you finish?
You can ask questions. I'm reporting to the board, but
Go ahead.
Well,
you can
Mr.
ask.
Walther, I am an auditor. I'm an elected auditor for the town, and I was just wondering, can you tell me how the final budget is higher than the original budget, or is that something I need to go to the select board for?
I cannot tell you the The details of why that is, I would ask the select board. It would be through amendments to the budget. But the select board could give you the exact changes.
I just didn't think that we could budget more than the voters approved.
The results for the road fund. Final budgeted revenues, 607,000. Actual revenues were 722. You had a net favorable budgetary variance of 115,000. Your expenditure budget, 693. Actual expenditures were 659. You had a net favorable variance of 33,880. So the net results in the road fund, you had budgeted to use 85,956. You actually grew your fund balance by 63,196. You had a net favorable variance of 149. That math is also incorrect. Pages 37 and 38 is our independent auditors report on internal control and on compliance in accordance with government auditing standards. As I said in my introductory comments, our role as your financial statement auditors with regard to internal control and compliance is just to consider internal control to the extent necessary for us to plan and perform our audit. And with compliance, again, we consider that your compliance with laws and regulations, but we don't give an audit opinion on them. So the results of our internal control report, the highlight, the important information for the board to know is at the very bottom of page 37, which says that we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be material weaknesses. And then on page 38, with regard to compliance and other matters, the highlights there is the very last sentence of that paragraph, which reads, the results of our tests disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. Okay? That's the extent of my comments on the financial statements. And then the other report that we had is the internal control matter report. Again, our role as your external auditors with regard to internal controls is to report in writing material weaknesses and significant deficiencies. If we found any of those, they would have to be reported in writing in the report that I just went over. So this report, internal control matters, are other matters that we found that don't rise to that level of severity. The only comment that we had for the current year was that we noted that the bank reconciliations and adjusting journal entry reports were not being signed off, evidence of review by the internal auditors, and we're just recommending that in the future that happen. The prior year comments, we had an issue with the road funds, and there was no instance that repeated, so that was cured for this year. And that is the extent of my comments, unless there's any questions.
Okay, anything from the board?
I don't.
Any?
No.
Okay,
The reports are in draft format. Please take a look at them. They are going through our QC process as well.
okay, just to sign off, I had a little bit of a question on.
Okay.
Explain that a little more in detail for us, just to run us up that don't do auditing and so on.
Well, it was I believe I spoke to Marie Walker this morning. Marie was the senior auditor from our team who performed the audit field work.
Yep.
And I guess there was a long-standing practice of the internal auditors reviewing the bank reconciliations and adjusting entries that has kind of fallen away.
Okay.
So we're just suggesting that that process be reinstated, just as another set of eyes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I have one question for you, Mr. Walther, if I may ask it.
Okay. I'd like that to go before the chair, but since you've done that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think proper procedures to ask the chair, then we can direct that.
Okay.
So you've had a question, you can address.
The Ratios and I are the elected auditors for the town of Pownal, and we had communicated with your office back in July, requesting a meeting to voice our concerns about some things that were going on here in the office. And one of the letters that we sent to you was a certified letter, which was returned. Is there a reason why we never got anything, any kind of a reply? No communication with the internal auditors here. We were never told that you wouldn't meet with us, but we were never contacted when you were here so that we could speak with you. We were kind of shut out of the whole issue.
I don't believe that's your position there, is it?
I have no response.
Okay. I believe, in my theory on that, that it was up to them if they wanted to respond. Am I correct? In my assumption?
Well, you referenced the meeting that we went to, and apparently we've forgotten some of what we learned at the meeting, but the CPA gentleman that was putting on the auditing program did say that, if he had been contacted in any way, shape, or form, being told not to speak to the internal auditors, that he wouldn't even audit the town. So I'm just trying to find out why the elected auditors were totally left out of this whole thing. There should have at least been, I believe, a conversation with the auditors.
At whose expense?
Expense?
Yeah, at whose expense?
I don't understand. What
What-
expense, why?
I don't think these people are going to, the Bonadino group is gonna sit down with you at no expense. Would
They
you
were
believe?
here in the office
here.
auditing. They
Yeah.
couldn't have taken 10 minutes and spoken to us?
Well, I don't know, did they have that on their schedule to do such?
They didn't notify us.
Right. So apparently they didn't put it on their schedule.
And that does not concern the Board of Selectmen.
Nope.
That,
Doesn't me.
okay. And then I just have one other question with the draft of the financials. On page 34, you reference the, Beamers, which is 4% of the gross wages. The gross wages are listed at 318,000, and the amount paid in Beamers is 14,900. That is not 4% of 318,000. So I don't know if that's a typo or I'm misunderstanding something.
We'll double check the numbers.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
No, thanks, not from me.
Okay. All set, board?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, excuse me, Steve, there's a lady here that, I
trying to figure out who it is I talked to about the dog catcher situation. The hire or the fire or the whatever. Cause our dog catcher is recently been hired out of Massachusetts. I've made a couple phone calls to her because of the dogs that keep running free and no license, no tags, no shots, no response.
Okay. All right. Have a seat. We'll get you when we get done with our regular business.
So I am in the right place then.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I was
Just be a couple
curious.
minutes.
Just come in and we'll put you down on the bottom as I'm concerned and okay. As I stated before, we want to revisit the personnel policy, but we do not have a full board as two members are out this evening. And some errors that we made in calculating, talking with some of our employees, we need to go over this again. But it would be beneficial to have the full board here to do such. So with that said, I'd like to table that until the next board meeting, Thursday night.
Motion to table it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Right.
Okay, and I have a personnel that I'd like to go into, but being that'll probably being, it is personnel, it'll go into an executive session, so what we will do if the board doesn't mind, we'll take this lady first and then we will go into that session. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. You are up. Now you can tell us what you were trying to,
Well, first of all, my name is Mindy Jo Harrington.
okay?
I live in Burdick's Mobile Home Park.
Okay.
I've lived there approximately since 2009. Would taken about a 9 month absence and moving back. We first started calling the dog catcher back when Mr. Zimmerman
Zellman.
Zellman was the dog catcher.
Yep.
Because there was neighbors there that had this dog that just kept running loose, and I have a Rottweiler that is going to jump through my window. Okay, is going to go through my window. But anyway, when I called him, he put my dogs under investigation, which I had 2 at the time. Well, then he was gone. Another one was in. He was gone, and then I called recently, a couple months ago, and got the number to the one that has been contracted out or something out of Massachusetts. I've contacted her twice.
Not anybody from
Well,
Massachusetts.
this person was in Massachusetts. The clerk here gave me the phone number. I mean, I should have brought it with me, but errands that I've been running.
Yeah, and
It's
like
a one.
It's a cell phone.
It's
Okay,
just a cell
whatever.
phone.
cell phone number and
But the dog issue is still, the dogs are running free. The dogs don't have tags. They don't have their rabies shots. And they're accumulating. I mean, they're growing bigger and more and more and more. You know, nothing, I mean, the one person, they upped and moved. We don't see that dog no more. But we just had new neighbors move in. They got 4 dogs, 6 cats, whatever. But they don't have rabies. They don't shots or tags on these dogs, and they're just roaming free.
Have you left a message with our,
She called me back, was supposed to make contact with these people. I tried calling her one other time, no return phone call.
okay, so you don't know if she has in fact got a hold of
But
these
she
people?
has, she hasn't carried through because these dogs are still doing it. They still don't have licenses. So therefore, if they don't have a license, 9 times out of 10, they don't have their shots.
Well, what I'm saying is if, if she hasn't got back to you, she may have got to these people and it just hasn't made the circle. I'm not sure.
Well, actually, I've gone to the neighbor's door and asked them because I'm a point blank blunt person.
Right.
I'm not going to do something behind your back. I'm going to go to your face and address the situation and tell you if you do not take care of this, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay? I waited. It's been a couple months. Just the other day, I said to the dog catcher, you know, your dogs are still running free. I still don't see no tags. Did the dog catcher make contact with you? Ain't nobody talked to us. I even took it up with Harvey.
I was going to say that would have been a start, I would have thought.
Oh, I
but-
went to Harvey. Harvey's got no control. You know what I'm saying? As far as who has what animal where.
does have control on how many.
I was going to say
Yes,
I would
he
assume
does.
that a park owner would, but whether they choose to or not would be the, I guess, the question.
Just dropped our dog catcher a letter and asked her to investigate the whole park.
That's cool. My dog's got their shots and a pen and tags, and I'm golden with
Yeah,
that.
if they're running loose and no tags, I mean,
You got Bella running loose, and Bella's 3 puppies running loose, and then you got somebody's over here, they got 3 and they're running loose. So we got like a total of 6 dogs running loose in this park. And this has been a battle since 2009. Started with 1 running loose. His name was Willie. And they were fined and whatever. The kids kept letting him out. He was a black lab and he just run. My neighbors across the street, they finally listened to me. They got 1 dog that will actually come back now when it's called to and will stay with them. I don't have a problem one with a verbal leash. My dogs are on verbal leashes 9 times out of 10, but I don't take them out of their pen unless they're in my vehicle and I'm going to the river with them. You know, I just looking for.
What we will do is somebody from this board or we'll have our administrator drop a message to our dog warden and ask if this has been checked out.
Okay.
And if it hasn't, if it would,
All right.
and find out what's going on from there.
Well, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't have a problem with people having animals.
She's been following through very well. We've been doing pretty good. So, like I said, until we follow through to see what the
I don't
circumstances
see a whole
are.
lot of dogs running free in Pownal per se.
No, there's been some issues and she's handled
But come
them.
on down to Harvey's Park,
Well,
okay?
it's not just his. There's other
Yeah.
parks that have these.
Oh, I know they
similar
got a bunch of
problems.
Rottweilers running loose. I know. Whenever I catch them, I know where to take them.
Yep. And that's
You know what I'm saying?
unfortunate, and I'm not sure how we correct that particular issue, but
But certain
We've
dogs,
discussed
you
it.
know, you can catch and take home because they'll come to you. These other ones, they just run. I had one run right just about under my tire. You know, and the worst thing I could do is hit an animal
we've
because they're
picked,
kids.
we've picked up puppies on the road before.
Yeah, well,
That's not pleasant.
no, exactly. But I wasn't sure if I was in the right place. Thank you for hearing my
Okay.
complaint.
Not a
Draft a
problem.
letter and have her investigate.
So, do I come back to find out, or it's just going to be oblivious? What?
You can watch a meeting, you can come back, you can do whatever you would like.
Thinking I want to start participating.
The door is always open. Anybody
would
can
be a
come in
good
any
idea.
Thursday night.
Except for the 4th Thursday.
Except for the 4th Thursday. That's
Sewer
just,
board meeting.
it's just a board meeting.
Yeah, that's sewer.
But, no, people are welcome to come in any Thursday night when
I
we're
am
open.
just,
And
and this goes on all the time, and nobody in the town really shows up, or I'm just
sometimes they
curious,
do, depending.
But I see there's not a whole lot of interactive.
There's usually not a nice visit.
Depends
I
if
didn't
there's a
come here
topic.
just with a complaint. I come
No.
here to learn also.
More people should. More
Yes,
people
I
should be
agree.
interested and know what's going on in their town.
I agree.
It's very important because it is their town.
Mhm.
So
I
you're
agree.
welcome to come in at any time with a complaint or just to sit in the audience.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening.
These are the 2 quick things before we go in. Is that
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot that, Mike. Go ahead.
insurance? The president today extended it for a year. Does that involve us at all?
I don't believe so because we're under Vermont and we had a 3-month extension,
Yeah, there's still Obamacare. Vermont's still under that Obamacare.
but we have this thing going on that that Dave's gonna get back with us on.
Okay, that's, I
That
don't
we
know
will
if
be
we should check with
moving on.
Dave and see if it involves us.
I think he'll rattle our case. So we should be pretty safe there because he's been staying on top of this.
We can get a year. Hey. Second thing is, town website. Anything ever been done with that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, well, I asked a couple weeks ago. I was confronted by a guy down the store, and he's friends with a guy that sent his resume in. Ace Man. I remember seeing it. He's just wondering what was going on with it. If we got anybody. They have started their own radio station. It's NVM Radio. And if you go on their website, it shows all the graphics and stuff he designs, and he's still interested. He just ain't heard nothing. And I didn't know if there's anything we can touch on him or bring him in, see if he's interested. And I told the guy, I wasn't talking to this guy personally. I was talking to a friend that it's more or less a volunteer position, and he was gonna pass that on to him. And
Okay, that's a good start because if he's accepting it as a volunteer position, is still interested, then my suggestion would be to him to come before the board and visit with us, and we can go from there.
I don't know, I'll talk to him.
And
I
if
think
he
it is
thinks
one
it's a
more.
pay position, that may quash it right there and
Right.
take care of that problem, so,
I will talk to him.
okay.
That's all I have on that.
Okay, very good. The last thing I have is a personnel issue, and being it will be discussing one of our workers, we will preferably go into an executive session, and we should be coming out with an answer. It shouldn't be a lengthy thing. So if anybody cares to stay, or you care to keep the film,
Motion to go in executive.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, back in regular, regular meeting. We are discussing personnel. One of our full-time employees opted out of the insurance that was offered by the town and offered to return to a $40 stipend, which actually saves the town money, and it's in the contract to do such. If a person under the full-time employment of the town decides they don't want insurance benefits, they can take the stipend per week. It's in her contract. We can vote on this at this point.
Motion to do it.
Okay, motion to take and allow her the stipend in her week's check in lieu of insurance. We have a motion,
Second.
we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that has been taken care of. With no further business in front of us this evening,
Motion to adjourn.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.